Psalms chapter 116, verse 7. Return unto thy rest, O my soul, for Yahweh hath dealt bountifully with thee. For thou hast delivered my soul from death, mine eyes from tears, and my feet from falling. Call Allah, Yahweh, Ba'ashimi al-Shai, Ba'ashim al-Kakadash. Shalom to the elect and the remnant of the children of Israel. My name is Brother Daniel Allah from the Prophets in Babylon, Tampa Bay, Florida. Double honors to the teachers and the head apostles of the great millstone of rule well. Peace and salutations to the Alchemy push out this work of true sincerity. Also barakatah to the Aqua who are listening as well. So this is a testimony. The Lord has delivered me from death. The Lord has delivered me from death. So let's get straight to it. So I do ride sharing, and I had dropped off the last rider for the night, and I ended the job, and I wanted to go home. It was very late. I grabbed a bite to eat, and I decided to hop on the toll road, and I was driving home, and I was going about 70 miles per hour because that was the speed limit on the toll, and it was very dark, and I saw a furry flash jumped right in front of the vehicle, and it was a big deer, a very big deer. And I saw it on time, but I couldn't dodge it because it was so big. And so I braked and I tried to swerve to the left, but the deer was so big that I wasn't able to dodge it in time. And I hit it really hard. And all you saw was smoke, and the dashboard said malfunctioning, and the whole screen was orange, blinking red and white. And then I pulled over, and all I heard was a noise from the radiator, and it was making all kinds of smoky noise. And the crazy part was I was in a rental that I was supposed to return that same day. So I destroyed the car before even returning the vehicle. I was such in shock because I was like, I done ruined this people's car, and I was supposed to return it today. So I was already highly stressed because, one, I'm fighting a severe bodily affliction, an illness, and I was already stressed from the pain, and being traumatized made it worse. So I froze up, and I didn't want to get out the car because it was so dark. I was by myself, and it was so dark, and I was by myself. I didn't want to get out the car. I didn't want to get out the car and see the deer. I was too afraid to get out the car because I don't know if the deer was still alive, and I didn't know the deer was dead. So the first thing I did, I called the roadside assistance, but nobody picked up the phone. So then I called 911, and they picked up the phone, and I told them I hit a deer, and they told me that they're going to get the state trooper to come by. And then about 15, 20 minutes later, the state trooper came by, and he said, "What happened?" And I told him I hit a deer, and the whole front end is messed up. The bumper and the logo for the vehicle fell off, and the radiator was completely destroyed. All the liquid fell out. And then, he flashed his light in front of the vehicle. He said, by the way it looks like you tried to save the deer, because most people who hit a deer, they're even hitting 80 miles per hour, and they're either total their vehicle and get injured, but in reality, people who hit deers like this end up dying. And then he looked at me. He was like, "I'm so happy that you're alive and the deer's dead." I was like, what you mean? The deer's dead. He said, yeah, that deer's gone. It's dead. But you're alive. And then I was just in tears, man. I was in tears, man. And he said, usually people die from this. He said, God was with you, man. And then, I was crying, man. I was crying that, he said that. And also, I like animals, and I didn't want to kill that animal, but I ended up killing that animal, man. So I was sad about the animal too, but I was weeping because he said usually people die from this type of accident, and he said I made it by the way the looks of my vehicle. He said I'm going to get a tow truck to come pick this up, and I told him that I need to get back home. I was like 34 miles away from home, and I said I needed a ride there, but no one can pick me up. So I called the Ocum, and they sent me about like $40, and then I looked at the Lyft app, and it said $213 to get home. I was like, oh no. And I told the state trooper, I was like, I cannot afford it. He said, yeah, I see that. So he said, you know what? I'm gonna take you halfway home and drop you off at like a gas station so you can be closer to home and take an Uber there. And I said, thank you so much. And then he said that the tow truck will be coming in the next 20 minutes. And as soon as he said that, it came less than 10 minutes. So, and I was in so much extreme pain and agony, man. And I was stressed. And I was like, man, I need to go home, man. I need to go home and lay down. And the tow truck came so fast, like so fast. And it was a Jake. And even the state trooper was a Jake as well. Like everything went so smooth. And then you saw the road ranger who takes care of people who get flat tires and whatnot. And then there was somebody behind the state trooper to check to see if the deer was good enough to eat. And I was like, man, somebody getting the good out of this or something. I don't know. I was like, okay. I mean, I crashed it and killed it, and somebody pulled up and like, hey, like they might just throw it in the back and eat it, man. Like, I find it pretty comical, like like you get into a serious situation and someone's like, oh look, it's a dead deer, venison. I'm gonna take home and eat it. So I was like, somebody's getting the good out of it in this whole situation. You can't be serious all the time. So the state trooper, as soon as they took my vehicle, the state trooper was like, hey man, I'll take you halfway. He took me halfway, man, and we were talking and all that stuff, and he was a really cool dude, and he dropped me off at the gas station. And I told him about my affliction. I told him about the stress I'm going through, and he's like, hey man, you don't look that bad, man, and you know what I'm saying? And then he told me, hey man, God is with you, man, and I blessed him. I blessed him, man, and then he went his way, like Lord's will that, like that he gets blessed from all the things that he done for me that night, from the deer. So call your boss Shai. And then I got an Uber, and the Uber driver, the crazy thing was he was going to the same city I was, and he was going to end the night by dropping me off. So like everything was planned by the Lord. Everything was smooth sailing. Everything was straight. And I was alive. I'm alive. I'm alive, man. And I just truly thank the Lord that he delivered me from death. And then I called the brothers the next day, and the brothers called me, and I pretty much told them what happened. And then one of the brothers was like, yo, the Lord just delivered you from death. He said the state trooper said, what? And I said, the state trooper said, usually people die from this. He said, man, get on the mic and tell this testimony. and tell the people that the Lord delivered you from death. And I did. So call Allah Yahweh Shema Shabbat Shema Kakadash. I'm gonna repeat the precept again. Psalms chapter 116 verse 7. Return to thy rest, O my soul, for Yahweh hath dealt bountifully with thee. For thou hast delivered my soul from death, my eyes from tears, and my feet from falling. So the Lord delivered me from death, man. You know, he delivered me from death. And that deer was hypnotized by those headlights. It didn't want to move. It didn't want to move. It was that saying, deer with headlights. You're like a deer with headlights. You know what I'm saying? Like the Lord, it was quite comical because, I didn't know that saying until the brothers told me. And the deer didn't want to move when it saw the headlights. And I honked the horn and did all that I could, but the deer didn't move because it saw the headlights, as you see in this picture. So I felt bad for that deer, but someone got the good out of it. Next precept, Ecclesiasticus Sirach chapter 34 verse 10. He that hath no experience knoweth little, but he that hath traveled is full of prudence. When I traveled, I saw many things, and I understand more than I can express. I was oftentimes in danger of death, yet I was delivered because of these things. The spirit of those that fear the Lord shall live, for their hope is in him that saveth them. Call Allah Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua Ba'ashim Kakadash. You see, verse 12, I was oftentimes in danger of death, yet I was delivered because of these things. The spirit of those that fear the Lord shall live, for their hope is in him that saveth them. The fear of the Lord hath saved my life. Brothers and sisters, the fear of the Lord saved my life. I could have been going 80, blasting music, and went head on to that deer, and I would have probably been dead. I would have been gone. I would have went back to the spirit world. But the Lord delivered me from death. The Lord is alive and well. Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai is alive and well, and he is watching. The water Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai. I hope this class was edifying to the elect. Call Allah Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai Ba'ashim Kakadash. Till next time I stay. Shalom.